Now, what I think we ought to dive into is actually looking at a couple websites, and we can go through a basic site audit that you can follow along with live on your own website. We've got two different sites that we've pulled from. One is Amy Schramm. She is a St. Louis photographer who is doing a lot of different things in photography. We'll look at that and we'll see that on her website. She's doing some food, some lifestyle, some athletics. We've also pulled a website from Caitlin Cooper Photography. She's a friend of mine in San Diego, and her business is focused pretty much exclusively on weddings. Both of these sites have things they're doing very well. Both of them have areas that they can improve upon. Going to be great though to go through two different sites to give everybody an idea of how to go through some of these details, starting with a site audit. So let's go ahead and turn to the computer and get going here. The first thing you're going to do is check your site and make sure that it's indexed on Google and see what basically Google is looking at. And to do that, you just type the word site, and then your URL. You don't want to put any spaces in there. As soon as you hit that, you're going to see a couple things. First off, the good news is that Google knows that Amy's site is here. It's indexed, which means that Google has crawled it. It's reported the results back. It is in the search field, and you can see that here. If nothing shows up with your URL in it, then you know that your site hasn't been indexed yet, and typically that's a problem unless you just published it. So the next thing we can look at is that there's 9 results. Generally speaking, that should be roughly the number of total pages you have live on your website. Again, this isn't usually going to be an exact number, so if you have 10 pages live and this is showing 9, that's nothing to worry about. As you can see down here on the bottom, Google will sometimes omit some results. The next thing to look at is, are these the pages that you've published? Do you have a fitness page? Do you have an about page? You're really looking for anomalies or things that stand out that shouldn't be there. Right off the bat, I can tell you that what we're seeing is that Amy has not finished her titles. This is an area that right off the bat in a site audit would show. We have lifestyle-sitename-amyschramm.com. We have food-sitename-amyschramm.com. And so you can tell that there are some areas of her titles that need work on. The same can be said about her meta descriptions. It looks like some of the meta descriptions have been written by her, as we can see here, but they're defaulting across different pages and they're the exact same. We want to see a unique title and a unique meta description for every single page. This looks like it could be something that maybe is on her blog side because the meta description has changed, and maybe this is a new page that was accidentally published. Write down these anomalies. Make a list of all the things that stand out to you. That's the first part of the site audit. Remember how we don't want to put a space up here, because if you put a space, it all of a sudden starts to look at everything on the web that it can find for that. Notice how we went from 9 results to 1,360. So you don't want to have that show up in this specific search query. You're looking for just the pages on your site that Google has indexed. Let's look at Caitlin's site now and see if we can find any other things that stand out. So Caitlin has about 35 results. Here we can see that she does have an optimized title. So she is really trying to make sure that she works in some keywords. We're going to talk about keywords, but she's worked in San Diego wedding photographer, and she also has a meta description that seems to be optimized and uniquely written for just her homepage. As we scroll down here, we can see the different URLs, and we can see that she has unique titles for each of them. Everything's looking pretty good. As we get down here, we see once again, though, that we have some meta descriptions that are duplicating across the board. And that's not uncommon. It looks like something that has to do with her specific gallery pages, and she wants to go back in and write unique meta descriptions for those gallery pages. In this case, you can look at multiple pages, and you can get down. It looks like here she has a URL about_1.html. That can happen if you have multiple versions of your about page, and you might want to look at cleaning up your URLs. We talked about a clean URL structure earlier on in the course. Looking down through everything, it doesn't look like anything else really stands out. I will say here that it looks like perhaps that's an outdated copyright. And then we also have different names of images here. Google picks up on everything once they crawl your site. And this isn't a bad thing. This isn't going to hurt your rankings or anything like that. You're just missing some opportunities in terms of those image names to have the images actually rank and show up in search on Google. So the most important thing for this portion when you're doing this type of investigation is to make sure that your site is showing up in Google, that it's indexed, and then look for anything that stands out as obvious and as a problem. And so what we've done is we've gone through 2 sites here. We've gone through both Amy's site and Caitlin's site and just grabbed a couple of quick things to look at.